everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be. My name is Marva B. I'm the owner, CEO, and founder of Black Link Magazine, and this is the Black Link Experience. I'd like to welcome Mr. James Worthy to the Black Link Experience. James, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We are so honored to have you, and we appreciate just a little bit of your time. We won't keep you long, so thank you again.
No problem.
James, if you will, go ahead and tell the world who you are and what you do.
Who is James Worthy? Man, I wear a lot of hats, but just to sum it up, I'm just somebody who's a music lover from Queens, New York, who's a songwriter, producer, recording artist, and entrepreneur. I'm just one of those creative guys who just likes to make art,
Yes. So tell me, in your earlier on growing up, when did you know that you loved music and music is what you were going to be doing?
Well, I mean, I've always loved music from a very young age, probably 4 or 5. I've always been around music, and I've been around musicians and, artists and just the arts all my life as well. So it was kind of, I always say, the inevitable of me wanting to be in music some way, uh, fashion. But I think when I really got into music was probably age, probably 12, 13. But
Okay.
I knew I really wanted to do it when I got to meet my idol, which was Michael Jackson.
Oh, wow.
And that was like age 10.
Okay.
And, not knowing what I would do with it yet, just knowing that I wanted to be a part of something regarding music, just having that moment. So, that's how it started. And then, of course, you sharpen your skills and you try to learn as much as you can just to be a sponge and go from there.
Right. Well, tell us about meeting Michael Jackson. How did that come about?
Man, it was kind of random in a way. My dad used to do a lot of security work for a lot of different high profile people. And I remember one day he got invited to this Michael Jackson event that was happening in New York at Webster Hall. And I remember he wouldn't tell me where we were going. We just were on our way to Manhattan. And it ended up being a Michael Jackson event. I didn't find out until we got there. And long story short, I seen him on stage. He was accepting an award. I always forget the name of the award, but it was some award he was accepting. And I got a chance to meet him backstage in the green room. And it just was a crazy moment.
Like that would be the highlight of my life. Meet Michael Jackson.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy, but it was a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah,
that's how I felt about it.
Yes, absolutely. So James, tell me let's talk about the music. Getting into the music business, what was your process? Because yes, we love music and we start somewhere. Where was your somewhere where you was like, okay, I'm in this industry now? Not that I've necessarily made it, but this one thing made me understand that I'm really in this business now.
I would probably say just going through the trials and tribulations of the game when you're young and you don't know all the details. You know what I mean? You don't know about a lot of contractual obligations. You don't know about, what it takes to actually own your publishing and own your masters and getting paid for certain things that you should be. Just all the different ins and outs. Of course, any young musician or artist coming into the industry, you're not going to know all of that.
Right.
It's all about trial and error. And it's all about experiences to make you smarter. And that's exactly what I had to do. So I think by me going through those things young, that's what made me realize I'm like, okay, now I'm in the music business. Now it's getting real. Now I got to move accordingly.
Yeah. So can you tell us about a time where you ran into some of those hardships or those hard learning lessons in the business?
I mean, dealing with major labels and I remember I was dealing with a lot of major labels at the time, just producing for different artists and dealing with this A&R and that executive and this manager and blah, blah, blah. So it was just so many things going on at once to where it was so many politics and so many different contractual obligations, like, okay, well, you can't do this, do that because it's in the contract, and well, such and such said this, and you can't do that, and
Oh,
it was just an ongoing thing. And I remember I got my first taste of the um, being a part of a lawsuit with a major label that was, to me, it was drawn out way longer than it should have. But that was the first learning lesson,
yeah.
being in that position. But I've dealt with so many different things, from bad contracts to people trying to steal money, and just different things that the average person in the music business will go through.
You're right. I talked to a bunch of people in the business, and it seems like every person has experienced something in that arena, whether it's a bad contract, whether it's trying to stealing money from them, whether it's, one artist said that she was performing, and they turned her, made her, microphones lower than it should be. I mean, crazy stuff. And so
Yeah.
I always say this, my son is 18 and he's the lover of music, always have been, wants to get in the business. I try to talk him out of it. Here's a question for you. What about your team, your lawyer? How do you go about getting an entertainment lawyer? Because this trust thing, is out there.
It's not really an easy process, to be honest with you. It's really just about, like, having something of value first for people to even want to get in business with you. And I tell artists that all the time. You really don't need a manager unless you have something going on to manage, because if you don't, then it's not only going to make their job harder, but it's going to make your job harder, because now both of you are on the same boat, and it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
Your manager is supposed to be getting you opportunities, and making sure your contracts are where they need to be, and et cetera. But if you're not at that level yet, then you should be focusing on building up your leverage, building up your audience, and making revenue. You know what I mean? Because you have to pay your manager too, for whatever you're coming in with. So that pretty much goes the same with the lawyer. Like, a lawyer really wouldn't represent you if unless you're making revenue from your projects.
Makes sense. Makes sense. The new age or the new day thing is streaming and numbers, where, back in old school days, you have to really work to get your placement with a label or whatever. But it's about streaming. What is the advice that you give, or what did you do to build such a following?
Well, I guess my story is a little bit different. It's, I guess it's similar to, like, maybe a Kanye West or Pharrell Williams or a Q-Tip or something, to where, we've all started off as musicians. We've all started off as songwriters and producers, and worked with other artists, and then we stepped into the artist realm. And sometimes that transition isn't the easiest, because sometimes people just look at you in one way, or they're so comfortable with you being in one spot, or whatever that is. And it's hard for them to accept you when you go into a different lane.
Mhm.
But me, I've been blessed to have a smooth transition. I think a lot of people embraced me when I decided to become a solo act. And and ironically, there was a small demand for me to do that early on, before I really even got into the meat and potatoes of it. So that was really the blessing of it.
I tell people you have to build relationships,
Yeah.
because while you had a great transition, can you talk about how important building relationships are, in this business? Because a lot of times it's about who you know.
Yeah, most of it is about who you know. Most of it is about your relationships, your network of people, and who knows you. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Sometimes it's not even really about who you know; it's about who knows you.
Absolutely.
Um, and that goes a long way. I think sometimes that's bigger, or more cherishable than money. You know what I mean? Because you can spend money on whatever it is, but sometimes you can give somebody some money and they still don't respect you. They still don't like you. They still wouldn't want to do business with you. So you would want to have those strong relationships, because you never know when you're going to need those down the line. So, I'm big on that because, there's been times when, I've needed certain things done.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have certain people to call, it could have ended up bad.
Yeah. What about investing in yourself? I know a lot of newcomers, to the game, they don't want to um, invest financially in themselves. It's all about, well, I'm just going to keep doing this, doing this. But as far as investing in your marketing and building your brand, can you talk about
Yeah.
that a little bit?
Oh man, that's number one. You cannot, I always tell people, you cannot get results without putting something in.
That's right.
Because it's always that misconception of an artist is going to magically get discovered and get signed to a major label, gonna get all this money and everything is peaches and cream. It never was like that from the beginning. This is a business at the end of the day, and it's all about revenue. It's all about what are you bringing to the table that these companies can make money off of.
Mm.
So, which is why they look for what they say the total package. So, what can we use with you to market for us to make $1, right?
Right.
So, it's never a thing of they just give you money just because they think you're the most talented thing walking.
Right.
It's never been that way. Even for the most famous stars, it never happened for Beyonce like that. It never happened for Kanye West like that. It never happened for Michael Jackson like that.
Yeah.
It's always something that you have to bring to the table that makes sense for all parties.
I love it. I love it. It's so true. You say total package. Can you just give an example of what what the total package might look like?
Yeah, your total package is, your look, your style, your imaging, your persona, um, your poise, of course, your music, and your marketability or your likability. Will people actually like you if they put all this money into you?
Mhm.
Because you can be an artist that looks good, but most people may not like your personality.
I
And they
love
look at all that stuff.
I love this. This is so informative. Because I do deal with a lot of independent artists that's fresh in the game and they just don't get it. It's like all they see is the glitz and the glamour, but like that's only 10% of the game. The 90%
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
business.
The music is always 10%. Business and revenue is always that 90 other percent. You know what I mean? And sometimes it could be 95.
Yeah.
Or it could be the whole 100, because we're just in a perception world right now. Everybody wants to be somebody. Everybody wants to have things. Everybody wants to be in the front, but never want to work to be in the front.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So it's really the simple thing of, I tell people this all the time. You can't skip steps. You can't skip a step.
I love
And
it.
if you try to, then you're gonna get knocked back down.
I love that. Gosh, can't skip steps. Yeah, you can't expect, you can dream big as you want to, and you can accomplish those things if you're putting the action behind that. And that's from A to Z. That's that
Yeah.
part about skipping steps. A to Z. You can't leave the D and the F and the G out. You
You
gotta
can't
do
leave
all
nothing out.
a label versus independent. What is your perception on that? Do you build yourself up to independently get all these things you lined up and they come for you, or do you go after a label? Do you say, okay, here's what I got? Do you bust their doors open?
Me personally, I wouldn't go after a label because once you're going after them, they're never going to give you what you're looking for,
Mm.
or what your value, quote unquote, should be. They're just going to give you what they think, and it may be lowballing you. It may be just not a good situation. So it's all about building your own leverage. So, I always recommend artists stay independent and own their art
Mm.
and create that demand within their audience. Really, you don't even need a label nowadays. You just have to understand your audience, and let's just be 100. You need to have some money.
Let's talk about some of the things that you've accomplished up until today. Where did you start? What was the biggest thing that you did in the beginning up until as far as performing and getting your music out there through today?
So it's, and I always say this is such an intricate story, and I'm going to be telling this in my documentary as well. But, you know, I started off when I was doing production, well, even before that. So I started off songwriting first,
Okay.
and songwriting then turned into music production because I needed music to go behind these words to put the whole puzzle together, right? So once I started doing that, of course, I was submitting to so many different artists and this A&R, that A&R, and blah, 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 just to see who would like what and what would stick. So um, I remember I was working with a guy by the name of Solly Williams. He's a producer out of Houston, Texas.
Mhm.
And at the time, he was working with, all the Houston artists, Mike Jones,
Right.
Pimp C,
Mhm.
Bun B, Slim Thug, all those guys. So, he would pretty much just teach me about production and hardware, which is, your keyboards and your MPCs and all those different things, just to enhance the production more than what I was already doing. Because I
Mhm.
was learning on my own.
Right.
And I made a lot of relationships with him in the industry just by being a producer alongside him.
Mhm.
And I remember at the time, Twitter had just came out, and everybody was trying to get a Twitter page. So the artist Young Berg at the time, he was hot. He had a Twitter account, and he put out his email through his page asking producers to send him tracks for his mixtape series. And I submitted him a couple tracks, and he hit me back probably about 2 weeks later, and he wanted to use one of them for his mixtape. And that was just like a small inch in.
Mhm.
But then I remember making relationships with Mike Jones and a couple other artists to where, like, okay, now I'm getting ready to work with these guys. So now it's slowly climbing up the ladder,
Yeah.
right? So then that made me want to just do different genres. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to have the aura of, oh, he's just a hip hop producer, or he just does just this and that's it. I'm too much of a music lover, so I loved R&B, I loved hip hop, of course, I love house dance music, I love jazz music, EDM, all that.
Yeah.
I love all of it. So that's when the more and more I started working with more artists, I found myself working in all genres
Mhm.
without me really even realizing it. I'm like, wow, like I really like came from hip hop all the way to pop EDM,
Yeah.
then country and all this other stuff. It was
Wow.
just amazing to do. And I remember I used to sit in sessions with Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston, and just really soaking up game. You know what I mean? Like I remember I used to work with Bobby Brown Jr. When he was
Oh,
young. Me and him pretty much grew up together, and I pretty much molded him as an artist and built the sound with him. And that really caught a lot of attention too. So it was just really like a bunch of things going on at once.
yeah.
So like sometimes it's even hard for me to pinpoint one record because it was just like boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? Which was a blessing.
That's a blessing because a lot of artists don't get to say that. A lot of producers don't get to say that. They're
Yeah.
still out here grinding, trying to get to that point. So that's a
Yeah.
blessing.
So it was definitely a amazing thing to be a part of and do and just be around so many great artists. And I think with all of those experiences, it molded me to become a great artist as well because I've had those experiences
Absolutely.
learning and soaking up those experiences. You know what I mean? So I remember I don't even think a lot of people realize this, but I actually used to be in a group. And that was my first introduction into being an artist.
What group? What was the name of the group?
So the group was called Kings X2.
Okay.
And it was myself and another gentleman. His name is International Nova. Okay. And he's a dope artist as well. And we put out one single. That's it. We put out one single, and that single debuted at number 10 on Billboard.
Oh, wow.
And that was the introduction of James Worthy, the artist.
Advice people give is to continue to write and write and write and write, because it's going to be that one. It's going to be that one single that can take.
And it's usually the singles that you wouldn't expect, or maybe it's something that's getting ready to get scrapped or something. Because I remember when we did that song, it wasn't on the top of the list at all. Like literally, he told me he didn't want to use it. He didn't want to do it, and I said, "No, man, this is the one. This is the one." And I kept fighting him on it.
Yeah. And
this is the one. And then when it came out, probably about 2 weeks later, we hit the Billboard chart.
Golly, that's a blessing.
Well, yeah, so that's amazing. It was just great, because a lot of artists can't really say their first time ever on a song they hit number 10 on the Billboard.
That almost never happens. Almost never.
Yeah, so it was definitely a blessing. So I think that right there is what created the demand, for me to become a solo act. And then once I did that, it was just a great transition. The fan base has grown so much since then. The catalog has grown so much since then, and it's just been great.
That's amazing. Let's talk about your new single that's out. Tell us about that.
Yeah.
How you created that, where that came about, where your ideas came from on that.
So TikTok is the newest single, myself featuring Big Gip, the group Goody Mob. And really it's just a song just talking about, we don't have time as a luxury all the time. You know what I mean? We never know when we're going to leave this earth. So we got to make the best of it. And I think, we're just depicting a short story of me wanting to spend all of my time with this specific person because I don't know how much of it I have left.
Oh,
you know what I mean? That was a depiction of it. And same thing with Gip as well. Mm-hmm. And usually when I do records, I try to make them concept based. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I hate just doing the same stuff over and over, or it's just something that's just regular or cliche, or just something. I like to open up the envelopes and have some type of shock value with it.
Wow. I love it. That's what makes you unique. That's what sets you apart. When I talk to artists, it's like, what is your uniqueness? What sets you apart from everybody else? What are you doing that nobody else is doing?
Right.
So I like that. Yeah. What's next for you, James? Okay, we got the single, we got that in rotation. What's next?
What's next? Oh man, there's a lot coming next. So of course we're pushing TikTok right now. The music video is coming really, really soon. So I'm excited about that. Working on the James Worthy documentary. Just telling the whole story of my life, my career, everything that I've done and been through until where I am at now. It'll be a part 1 because it's so much that's happening. So of course we got to do a part 2, but we're definitely working on that. Working on some television and film projects. So you guys will see me on the big screen really, really soon. I'm a part of a reality show that'll be on TV soon.
You can't say?
I can't say yet, but just know it'll be on a major network.
Okay.
I'm excited about that. I'm excited. And man, just continuing to grow the brand. Hopefully this COVID leaves us and we can get back to some normalcy, as artists, and we can get back on the road and, give you guys an experience.
Yeah, I would love that, because I'm ready to get out there and do my interviews personally. I'm just not ready. And it's just, you just got to be safe right now. But so hopefully we can get this under control and start living our lives again and doing the things that we love. So
absolutely.
Before we go, what's the best advice that you could leave with someone that is trying to break into the business? Yeah.
Best advice. You know what I would say, man, you got to believe in yourself wholeheartedly,
Mm,
before anybody else does. And you got to live, breathe, and eat this. You know what I mean? If you really want to make it to the top, this is what you have to do. And you can't worry about other people's opinions
mm,
because everybody has one,
mm.
but it's only yours that matters. You know what I mean? So you keep that in the back of your mind and make what feels good to you, not because what's on the radio or because somebody else says it's hot and you need to make it or whatever else opinions there are. Like, make what feels good to you, what's authentic to you, and what you feel is going to help catapult your audience to believe in you.
I love it. Thank you so much, James. We appreciate your time here. I appreciate you
Thank
dropping
you.
the
Thank
gems.
you.
Yeah, dropping the gems that you dropped here today. I'm definitely gonna have my son listen to this one. It was really good. I appreciate you.
No
Um,
problem.
James, before we go, tell them how they can find you on all social media sites.
Yeah, follow me all social media at King James Worthy. You can go to the website too, jamesworthymusic.com, and you can find all the releases, all DSPs. Go get TikTok available everywhere, Spotify, Apple, Tidal, Amazon, anywhere you can stream and buy music is available. And subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, James Worthy Music.
Yes, go subscribe to that channel, y'all, because it's hard. It's hard to get that channel up. I started that channel. I was like, oh my God, I can't even get
It's a
1,000
lot.
people. It's a lot, but you have to stay consistent. You have to mean it. You have
Absolutely.
to be for real
Absolutely.
about it. Yeah. All right, you guys, we're going to get out of here for now. Remember, respect yourself and respect each other. God bless.
God bless.